Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
Ciao.
As you see, everybody's in a silly, goofy mood, but it's about to get serious. Because the topic that we have on today is, it's a hardy subject. It's a very heavy one that I feel like we really need to discuss, or Shalor thinks that we needed to discuss. Love you, PA.
Oh no, my pants.
But the name of this episode is called I'm Done. Have you ever felt like you were done?
With what? With what? Yeah.
I'm about to tell you. Thank you for asking.
Oh, okay, that was nice of you.
Sometimes you're ready to walk away, not from God, just from them. Mm-hmm. You decided to give your whole heart to God, but as it pertains to people, you're out. So that is the topic of discussion we will be talking about on today. The feeling of being like, I'm done, I'm sick of this, I'm tired of this. Like, I don't want to leave God, but man, these people.
I know for a fact, I can speak on this. As having been done and was sadly mistaken. Let me tell you something. If your immediate thought, especially when it's like Christians, if your immediate thought was, oh my gosh, I'm done with these people, like I'm stepping back from the people, like the church is not a building, all that other stuff, let me tell you something, boo. You are sadly mistaken. Because that is going to be the devil's first way to get to you, because it's like, oh, you don't got your folks around you, you don't got Christians praying near you no more.
Accountability.
I got you.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, you don't have a Christian accountability, you don't have the camaraderie with the saints, you are now isolated. Ooh, wow.
Isolated.
I said isolated. You're isolated in a Christian perspective because spiritually wise, you are alone. Because you're taking yourself away from the church, you're taking yourself away from saints, and you're putting yourself in a position to be tried harder by the devil because you are no longer in a position of safety. Because even if you don't think it is, I can tell you now, the church is a lot safer, especially if you go to a good one.
True.
Yeah, I think some people say I'm done with a person way too soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like nobody's perfect.
Right.
People make mistakes all the time. You make mistakes, right? And the fact that people give up on other people so easily is actually mind blowing to me, especially in the church. We're there to help each other grow in Christ.
True.
That's what we're made to do. So I just don't like how people say I'm done to a lot of people a lot quicker than they need to.
Right.
Yeah, so I had to look this up because I don't remember where it was from. But I remember Jesus saying this, and this was in his own words. So it's in Matthew 11, and it's also in Luke 7. And it talks about, and blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me. Mm-hmm. So Jesus already knew, like, you really have to watch when certain things are very easily to offend you. Like, and what Vinny was saying, like, that's a main tactic the devil will use to any newly fresh Christian trying to find a good church home, is that term, that phrase that now people try to come up with is church hurt.
Church hurt.
And honestly, it's very disheartening because even with the generation, even with our generation specifically, Gen Z, we're already sensitive as is. Yeah. And I mean, it's hard to say that, but you know, it's the truth. We're like already sensitive as is, and it's like almost everything that we take in or everything that we perceive, it's just like it gets to us, and it's just like, y'all need to calm down. It's not even that serious. So yeah, it's really a main tactic from the devil himself.
True. I think another thing is that dealing with people really, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier, really helps build your character as an individual. Like a lot of the times when I'm the most frustrated at people, it's something within myself that I can look to or it's like if I had acted different, or if I was more understanding, or if I was more patient or more kind, or if I was more thoughtful, that the situation would have been different. So before you say I'm done, maybe do a little bit of introspection.
Yeah.
And just look and see what's going on, what did I do to affect the situation, and then also just remembering you're not perfect. I know you
Right.
said this, but specifically like all the times you've messed up, and I'm not talking about like you knocked over a cup of milk or something like that.
Right.
I'm talking about when you actually messed something up that was like important, and maybe the individual, you know, just had mercy on you and they were really kind about it and they didn't blow up on you about it. Remember all those situations when somebody else does it to you,
Yeah.
and it kind of helps with just dishing out the mercy you've been given, because we've not been perfect, so we can't expect others to do the same.
That is very, very true. Like, even Jesus used the analogy of like, if someone were to like slap you on your
Turn to the other.
right
yeah.
cheek, turn to the other cheek. Like, it's all about being the bigger person. Like, what is the bigger picture here? And I think about the disciples, and you know, they were in competition at times. And I mean, you could literally see that by the inference in terms of who's the greater to Jesus, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
who's the greater in the kingdom, who will be next to Jesus the most.
Who's the greatest?
And Jesus was like, the one that's the greater is the one that's the least of these. Like,
Yeah.
we just really have to, like David said, really introspect.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a word. I kind of said it.
Like, I don't know.
Introspect. I think I heard it.
I've
But
heard
I'm like, as a
introspection,
verb, that's weird.
Yeah, I like what you said though, because humility is like one of the greatest things you can have
Yeah.
when dealing with
Especially
any
in the church.
situation, and then just being saved long term is gonna take a bunch of humility.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think
that's
just having God as your number one priority, it's just like, I'm not stunting these people. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
if God means so much to you, there is absolutely nothing people can do to stunt you.
Yeah.
Like,
But you bring up a good point. Like, just think about it. What if God said, "I'm done with you"?
Right.
that's
Like, you're so quick to judge somebody else. What if God was that with you? Like, you reap what you sow. So if you sow not long suffering,
That's what I'm saying, man.
you're not gonna get long suffering when you need it.
I actually thought about that, I think a couple days ago. I was like, you know how sometimes we're kind of like, you know, celebrities break up, okay, or celebrities cheat on each other, they're in affairs, right? So many times we're like, girl, you gotta leave him. Like, he done cheated on you. There's no reason for you to connect the ties again. And I was like, so many times we're like that. But then I'm like, imagine the many times where God was like, in his character, he was like, man, you really gotta leave him.
Yeah.
Like, like, they keep doing the same sin over and over again. Like, they just keep going to this thing that's just so addictive. Now, I am not saying, I want to make this
I
very
was going to
clear.
say, I was going to clock you quick.
I am not.
I was gonna
I was
wait
gonna
a
clock
little
you
bit.
quickly.
Did I miss
Now,
it?
I'm not saying that if you have been cheated on to stay in a
I
relationship.
was
That's
about to
not
say-
what I'm saying.
Girl, you know,
I
I'm
really-
calling you quickly.
I was
I really
like,
want to make that. That's
man,
not what I'm
Your
saying.
analogy was tough.
But I'm saying, but what I'm
Right
saying
now.
is this: the many times that God has wanted to almost like be done, but yet He was
Yeah.
never done.
Right.
Cool.
Now, I'm not saying, because we're human, you know, we're fickle. Yeah. So don't stay in that. But for God and who He is and how faithful and consistent that He is to all of us, there should be a little ounce of you that's saying, I'm not done. I'm just getting started.
And I think that is also another thing, because of course we always talk about how, you know, God is love and we have to love the least of these. And of course the Bible talks about, now of course we're talking about it in a different way, because we're talking about husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church. But I think a lot of times people don't take into account that if we're striving to be Christ-like, we're Christians, we strive to be like him.
Christians.
And if Christ loves the church, then why is it so hard for us to love the church?
Yeah.
Why is that it's such a, oh my gosh, like they did this to me, I'm pushing them away. But it's like, oh, this man has been playing you for 2 years and you still lock and key with him. But a saint stepped on your foot and now all of a sudden you're done with the people. I think we have to be careful when letting go of godly people is easier than letting go of worldly people. Because it not only shows you where the enemy is lying, it also shows you where your character lies. Because I think about it a lot of times when people, they say they gravitate more towards, their coworkers than they do like people who go to church and all that stuff. And then I'm like, does that make you feel good? Because
where's your heart at?
Because where is your heart at? Because as a Christian, now I'm not saying I'm not saying you don't be friends with your coworkers and you don't, be cordial and all that stuff. I'm just saying that sometimes if it's easier for you to make worldly friends, because friendship is a lot of times about having similar traits, similar attributes, similar
things in common.
Things in common. So it's like, if it's so hard for you to find commonality with the people who are of the same faith, it's
who have the most valuable thing they are in common with.
I think that's because they're in different levels. Like for real saints, God is number one. But for those people that are really friends with their coworkers, God's about number 7.
Right.
So it doesn't align, like their number ones don't align, or number 2, stuff like that.
And that's when everybody gets to the whole, you're too churchy. It's like, actually, I'm exactly the right. I'm not even churchy enough, really. Honestly, I've not made it there yet. Everybody else is kind of here. I'm just, I'm getting there. But yeah, I like that point. Go ahead, David.
I also think to be done, quote unquote, done with somebody, I guess it just depends what you mean. Because if somebody, like you mentioned, if you're in an abusive relationship or somebody cheated on you multiple times, please be done with that individual. You don't need to be, no, be done with them. Or even like other stuff. Maybe a coworker keeps sabotaging you on your job and you just need to not talk to them. I mean, hey, do what you gotta do. That is not long-standing grudge or bitterness. But aside from that, when it's long-standing and it's bitterness building in your heart, you're like, no, I'm done with them. I don't even want them to get right because I don't want to see them here no more. I actually think that's arrogant because we're not in a place to judge when somebody should have more or less grace or mercy.
Right.
So back to being humble, when you really think about it, all the times, and everybody has said it, the Lord does not owe you anything for you to be here. So you can't just say, I'm done with that person as far as you don't want them to have a successful life or a successful life in God anymore. It's arrogant to say, and it's out of place. But, like they said, be humble about it.
No, and you said, there is reasons why you should be done with a person. So how do you, this is the question, how do you be done with somebody that we talked about this earlier, 3 months ago.
Earlier.
Last time we recorded. About soul ties.
now we're bringing it up.
Yeah, we're bringing it up. Yeah. So when your soul is tied with somebody that you should be done with, how do you deal with that? And how do you break that tie?
I think, I can't really speak on this. But I'm just saying,
what? No, you should not say that before you give somebody advice.
I'm not saying I'm not about to give advice. I'm just about to start talking it's going. I think.
Whoa, bro.
But honestly, soul ties is a lot harder because there's a lot of times when you're in a soul tie, you don't know it. So it's
that's true.
You're just like, oh, I just can't leave this person alone. We must just be real good friends. It's like, I think you're trapped.
I think there's signs though for that.
Okay, maybe there's one sign for me.
But if you don't know how to see the signs,
maybe I was
you don't know what to look for.
I think there's some signs though. Okay, but finish your statement. I want you to finish.
It's okay. No.
No.
I was just saying, sometimes, of course, like I'm not saying yes, of course there is signs, but sometimes you don't know how to read the signs
Yeah.
because it just feels like, it feels right in that moment. And sometimes it's like being, you know, inside, I don't know where that, and I was about to go, never mind. I was thinking of something, but I don't remember how it went.
Oh,
But they just seem like a good friend.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And it's like a lot of times when it comes to soul ties, you can feel when it's time to let go. And I think the first thing you have to think of when you know it's time to let go is it should be, I cannot worry about how this is going to affect them. Because a lot of times when you're tied to someone and you will feel them draining you, you will feel them taking from you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, you will feel that on you. And so when that happens and when you've lost so much of yourself, your first thought cannot be, well, if I leave them, what will they think? Or if I leave them, I know I'm going to hurt them. Your first thought has to be, if I stay, I will hurt myself more.
Yeah.
So that has to be your first thought when you're going into things, because, and that's not even just like soul ties. Sometimes that's in friendships, that's in relationships, like that's in jobs. There are times when you can get so wrapped up into something that was good when it started, but as it progressed and as you continued in it, you watched it drain from you. And the worst thing it can drain from you in is spiritually. When you can't find time to read your word, when you can't find time to talk about holiness, it's like, am I in the right position if it's taking so much from me with the number one priority? If I can't reach my number one priority, how high up is this priority going?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes some soul ties, it gets to the point where you're idolizing them.
Yeah.
And idols, that's a main sin. That's a heavy sin.
That's a
And
commandment.
That's a commandment. Like, you breaking big things. So you have to watch out when certain things certain soul ties start to become idolizations. You're starting to idolize the way that they live, the way that you want to be like them, how connected you are with them. So
Yeah, when it comes to soul ties, I wanted to make, because y'all not about to catch me slipping. After I just said that Paul was a Gentile,
Okay.
I'm not, y'all not about to catch me
This
slipping.
was a different episode.
episode.
They didn't know.
No,
Maybe
but I'm
they didn't watch it. Maybe they
saying, no,
didn't
I'm
watch it.
saying, I'm making sure I'm pulling this up, so I'm not making this up from the top of my head.
Go ahead, Chris.
But when I think
Gotcha.
about soul ties, I think about Matthew 13 when it talks about the parable of the tares.
In Matthew specifically.
Yeah.
Yes, Matthew. I think it's in any of the other ones too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not even.
That was
no.
a weird delivery. But
No, I'm saying I think it's mentioned in the other gospels. I just don't know for sure.
Yeah, what are you about to talk about?
But when I think about soul ties, I think about tares mixed up or
With
tangled
wheat,
up
with the
with
wheat.
wheat.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to soul ties, you're entangled with something. And it's almost like it's hard to get out of it. That whatever pulls the tear, the wheat comes along with it. So wherever, I want to say if you're in a soul tie with somebody, you probably don't know. But then again,
David said you do.
people,
sometimes
sure.
people know, fam.
I mean, sure. But being in a soul tie with a person, the more that person goes places, you go along with them. It's almost like sidekick type of hero type stuff, but you're never like the main character, honestly.
Side character.
So I think with that, and honestly, it's real. Then you know. And honestly, that is very, very dangerous because even when Jesus was explaining the parable to the disciples, because they didn't really fully understand what he meant by that, honestly, it's because you know how, I don't know where this is, but it talks about in a great house, there are vessels of
Yes.
honor and there are vessels of dishonor. So just because you go to church, it doesn't necessarily prevent you from people who are tear.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Now, and again, it says in a great house. So even in a house that is preaching sound doctrine, even in a house that is preaching truth, there is still wheat and tare. There are still sheep and goats. There are still people that are
And
just
wolves.
separated. Yeah. Wolves in sheep's clothing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you really just have to be careful of your surroundings and whoever you're around, and honestly ask God to just like, Lord, lead me and guide me to the people that I honestly need to be connected to, because there are good soul ties. Like there's David and Jonathan.
Hey, that's what I was gonna say now.
Oh, praise God. Well, I'm gonna put it back to you, David and
I was gonna
Jonathan.
say, oh no, not that part. I was gonna say there are some good soul ties. Like he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
if
yeah.
she's a Proverbs 31 woman and she's moral and can add value to your life and help you make it to heaven, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. But as far as the bad ones, you said you don't know most of the time. I feel like there's some signs. I feel like you may not know like immediately, like that's soul tie.
Can I ask this question?
Yeah.
Do you think Samson knew that he was in a soul tie with Delilah?
Signs. Okay, so that's what I mean. He may not have known, but if she keep asking for your strength every time,
Oh, yeah.
like, bro, that's
That's
a
true.
sign.
Right.
Like, even if you didn't, I mean, because I imagine if that would have been like a real wife, she might have asked him. I can imagine a regular, not ill-meaning woman asking him, hey, how are you this strong? Like, I appreciate it, but how are you this strong? Like, I get that. But it's her repetitively asking and trying to take it away.
But that's a sign. But
But-
that's the thing about a soul tie. It can sometimes make you blind to
Yeah.
that person.
Because like he was in love with, like he was enamored with Delilah.
Yeah.
They say love makes you blind sometimes.
Yeah, love makes you blind.
I mean,
Blind.
yeah, that is true, but still, like,
and it's almost like, well,
like, come on, man.
it's almost like you,
Look, you like, maybe she just worried about me.
right? Maybe she just worried about me.
She just want to mess with
I
me.
mean, but you woke up twice in weird situations, and this girl is standing there with other men in your room, and she's standing there like,
No
what?
pranksy.
You
No,
wake up.
that's a relationship where it's like, no,
That's-
I'm done.
Yeah, that's how
I'm done.
That's
You
not
asking for my strength for like the 50th
That's
time?
right, that's
Then
right.
yeah, that's what I'm done.
Some of y'all are with a lot of Delilahs, okay?
Wow. Okay.
And some of y'all are some Delilahs and you don't know.
Speaking to people's lives.
She pointed at the camera, bro.
I'm saying, I can get deep on that. Keep going,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Some soul ties got signs. Like if your spiritual decisions are hindered by something that individual says all the time. Like maybe one time, maybe they're a good friend, they got off for a second. Okay. Every single time you're trying to do something spiritual and they hinder you, or something they said that's adverse to it comes back to mind. Like, come on, you gotta see the signs. I get
But I
that
mean,
you
if
can
you're
blind
not,
some stuff, but-
if you're not spiritually aware or you're not sober and vigilant, it's almost
King
like our
James.
it's almost like our today's world, because we could go through a pandemic,
Mm.
we could go through so many children unfortunately being shot in elementary schools, unfortunately, and then we can go
I
through
didn't know where you were going
so
with
much
that,
racial injustice, and we can go through
True.
so many other things. I don't know why I can't think right now.
It's okay.
But we can go through all of
Adverse
that.
weather, politics,
Yes.
governments,
We can go
wars.
through all of that. Yeah, even Israel and Palestine. Like, we could go through all of that, and yet the church still be blind.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's a good point. Are you?
So
you're saying you can just still be blind to soul ties?
Yeah.
I mean I would say that's a little bit different. I mean,
I think
I get what you're saying. Like the church being quote unquote tied to the things of the world
Yeah.
so much that they're not aware of the timing of their dispensation. I get that, but like on a personal level, I feel like signs are just more. Like, even when you don't want to see it, I feel like you see it. Now, whether you choose to acknowledge it as one,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I think maybe that's the thing. Most people don't acknowledge it. I think a lot of people see it as
They're
like,
in denial.
yeah.
It's like, oh, just let it roll
Samson and
over.
Delilah. Y'all should really let it get
Yeah, because there honestly were red flags in that, and Samson really.
But I have another question. This
break
is
that down.
shift
Well,
of the
that-
conversation.
we'll give you
We have
a
like
short
5
mini.
minutes.
we got
We're gonna
5
say
minutes. Okay.
say on a separate clip.
So what do you do when you're done with you?
Oh.
Like should
Oh.
yeah.
I didn't think that question was coming.
I didn't think it was either.
Why you wanted to save it for something else?
No, I don't. You can't. Like, okay, and I say that's such a weird way to answer what you said, but
Oh, you was answering?
huh?
You were answering the
Well,
question?
I asked
No,
the
I
question.
wasn't. You
yeah.
was.
You can't be done with you. If that makes sense.
Like you get tired of yourself.
right, but
And
I know, and it's kind of a weird way to answer it. You can't be done. Oh, did
No.
I said something crazy?
No.
No, I was just trying to
She's
answer.
still
I was confused for a second. I got it now, though. Go ahead.
Obviously, it sounds like it makes no sense. You can't be done with yourself. But like, if God's not done with you, you can't be done with you.
yeah.
But if God is done with you, then yes, you can be done with yourself. But on the former side, even when it feels like you want to be done and you're just like, bro, I've had enough of my foolishness. If God still has a plan and he is still passing out mercy for you, then you can't be done with yourself, even if you wanted to be. Moses tried it. God, I can't speak. I'm good. And he said, who made the mouth? Like, don't talk to me. I didn't say you were done, so you're not done. So,
Or even
Yeah.
like Elijah. When Jezebel had
Oh,
gone after him.
yes.
Oh, my man crumbled. He crumbled. And
I mean,
very real, very real. It was a very scary threat. No, it was, but like,
to think.
yeah, it's like, you know what? Actually, guys, I'm done.
True.
And then God was like, not so much.
No, I don't
Not
think
that
That
at
even
all.
reminds me
I
of
don't-
Jonah.
That's exactly how it's gonna
No,
be.
pretty-
You're gonna try to be done and God was
Jonah tried to be done.
Jonah was done with everything. He said, no, I'm writing it all off.
He said, no, I'm going to
He
just
said, I'm
pay
like-
my
Because
fair.
the fact that because I know did he really expect to make it when he jumped off that ship?
No.
I think he was gonna kill himself. That was it.
He was trying to be done with God, himself, life, like
Over y'all.
He was like, I know my God is the God of the sea and the land, but I'll just take my chances.
And let me tell him that's exactly how God gonna do you. Y'all gonna see a lot of big fish in y'all life. Y'all keep
It's video.
Speaking to people,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
relax. Dang.
No, but pretty much everybody.
She tried
pretty
to
much
call
everybody
people's
God
names out.
used had that I'm done moment.
Terrence in California, I see you. Like, whoa.
Okay,
Relax,
if you're
relax.
actually a Terrence in California, we're not talking about
Okay,
you.
yeah.
But if it applies,
Okay, we're gonna end the episode
Yes.
here. Thank you for joining us for the I'm done.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
We had a
That's our
great
condemnation of people.
we had a great
Sorry,
discussion.
Terrence.
Remember to like, comment, and subscribe.
Only if you want to.
Sure. I don't know why you would watch this far and not.
I do it all the
I
time.
want you.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Sometimes you forget to like and subscribe. I mean,
No, that'd be
you can't
real.
subscribe every time.
Yeah.
You can only subscribe once.
You accidentally unsubscribe sometimes.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
bro.
Or you don't ring the bell.
I
Yeah,
don't
So you don't
either.
get no notifications even though.
Anyways, y'all,
Yeah.
you know what we're gonna do? We are going to
Catch
you
later.
Pair of shoes. I just wanted to shout out. There's a very blessed young man who blessed me with these, and
I'm gonna
I.
edit this whole part out. Keep going though.
Okay.
I'm gonna edit this. He will remain anonymous for the sake of the integrity of his business, but he knows who he is. And if you like the shoes, you know, maybe hit us up, and I'll hit
Direct him,
to
yeah.
let you know. Yeah, but links in description.
Out.
All right, appreciate you.